I finally broke my brain, and it almost destroyed me. You know the feeling I'm talking about. That raw electric power when you finally bend your own mind to your will. The 5 a.m. alarm wasn't a suggestion, it was a command I obeyed without question. Cold showers weren't a challenge, they were a baptism in ice and fire, washing away the last remnants of weakness. Procrastination was a ghost I had exorcised, a forgotten myth from a past life. I had followed all the steps. I had declared war on the soft, scared creature inside me that craved comfort. And I had won. Utterly. I was a king on a throne of discipline, the ruler of my own internal kingdom. For a while it was glorious. I was a machine of pure productivity. Every task on my to-do list was a dragon, and I was the knight, slaying them one by one, day after day. My friends saw the transformation. They saw the focus in my eyes, the relentless drive. They'd ask me, "How do you do it?" And I would smile, a cold, knowing smile, because I had the secret. I had learned to treat my brain not as a friend, but as an unruly subordinate that needed to be whipped into shape. And it worked. Until the day I sat on my throne and realized my kingdom was completely, terrifyingly silent. The dragons were all dead. The battles were all won. And I felt nothing. The victory was hollow. The relentless discipline that had been my armor started to feel like a cage. My to-do list, once a roadmap to glory, now felt like a list of prison chores. The fire in my belly, that righteous anger that fueled my war, had dwindled to a cold gray ash. I was still waking up at 5 a.m. I was still taking the cold showers. I was still executing my tasks. But I was a machine running on momentum, not on purpose. The voice in my head that I had fought so hard to silence wasn't screaming, "I can't," anymore. It was whispering a far more dangerous question. Why? I remember the exact moment the machine broke. It was a Tuesday afternoon. I had a simple task in front of me, write a one-page report. A month before, I would have crushed it in 20 minutes. But that day, I stared at the blank screen for 3 hours. It wasn't laziness. It was something deeper. It was paralysis. I tried the old tricks. I tried the 3-second rule. 3, 2, 1, go. Nothing. My first thought? I wasn't being hard enough. The machine wasn't broken, it just needed more punishment. So I doubled down. 2 cold showers a day. No days off at the gym, even when my body screamed. I tried to restart the war, but this time there was no enemy to fight. Only emptiness. And that was the true rock bottom. The realization that more force wasn't the answer. The next morning, the 5 a.m. alarm went off. The voice of the drill sergeant in my head screamed, "Get up!" But for the first time, I didn't move. I simply asked the silence in the room, "What do you actually need right now?" And the answer that came back wasn't more sleep. It was crystal clear. A reason. In the silence of that defeat, something shifted. I finally understood. The entire premise of my war was wrong. I wasn't supposed to be a soldier endlessly fighting a rebellion in my own head. I was supposed to be the general, the strategist, the king who understands his terrain and his army. My brain wasn't a lazy, treacherous enemy. It was an ancient, powerful ally that spoke a different language, the language of survival, energy preservation, and clear signals. My fatigue wasn't a weakness, it was a data point. My lack of motivation wasn't a moral failure, it was a diagnostic report. Instead of shouting orders, I started listening. When that feeling of resistance rose up, that familiar "I don't want to," I stopped treating it as an insurrection. I started treating it as intelligence. I would pause and ask, "Okay, what is this? Is the task unclear? Am I burned out and need a real break? Does this task even align with my ultimate goals, or is it just a meaningless chore I put on my list to feel productive?" This wasn't about giving in. It was about gathering intel. You can't win a campaign if you ignore the reports from your frontline scouts. Your feelings, your resistance, your exhaustion, your fear are those scouts. From there, I realized my second mistake. I was obsessed with habits and discipline on a micro level, but I was ignoring the system on a macro level. Fighting the urge to check your phone every morning for an hour is discipline. Leaving your phone in another room overnight is a system. Forcing yourself to go to the gym through sheer willpower every day is discipline. Finding a sport you genuinely love and making friends there is a system. I stopped trying to be a perfect soldier in a hostile environment and started becoming an architect, redesigning the environment itself so that the right actions became the path of least resistance. My brain wasn't lazy, it was just incredibly efficient. So I made the things I wanted to do the most the efficient options available. And the most revolutionary discovery was the art of strategic rest. The grind culture I came from taught me that rest was a four-letter word. It was for the weak. But no warrior fights 24/7. No athlete performs at their peak without recovery. I learned to see rest not as an escape, but as a weapon. It wasn't about collapsing on the couch and scrolling into oblivion. It was about actively recharging. A walk in nature without my phone. A scheduled hour to read a novel. A deliberate, scheduled shutdown. This wasn't weakness. This was sharpening the axe. My productivity didn't just return, it skyrocketed. Because now, when I worked, I was a fully charged weapon, not a sputtering, exhausted engine. I'm telling you all this because I know many of you are on that same battlefield I was. You're fighting the good fight, and you're winning. But I want to offer you a map to the next level. The goal isn't to become a perfect, soulless machine. A machine follows code. The goal is to become the architect who writes the code. The war for discipline is a vital first step. It teaches you that you're in control. It gets you out of the mud. But the real work, the work that leads to a life of deep fulfillment and sustainable power, isn't in winning the battle. It's in what you build on the battlefield afterwards. So if you've ever felt that hollowness after a hard-won victory, if you're tired of being at war with yourself, know this: you're not failing. You're just ready for the next campaign. The difference between a soldier and a king is that a soldier follows the map, but a king draws it. In my next video, I'll show you the exact framework I use to draw my map for the week, a system that turns goals into automatic actions. But for now, if you're ready to learn how, you found your new home. Subscribe, and let's start drawing the blueprints for your empire.